Let go the day, feel it melt away, where time cannot find me at all. Just a breath away, nothing here but heaven, nowhere but love to fall. As I go within, quiet peace offers something sacred. There's a sweetness that waits, holiest embrace that reminds me I'm always home. As I go within, quiet peace offers something sacred. There's a sweetness that waits, holiest embrace that reminds me I'm always home. It's here that I am always home.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Claudia. We have Claudia tonight. Our aria is out of town this evening, so we're blessed to have Claudia join us. Thank you, Jim. Beautiful. Welcome. I'm Reverend Debbie McDonnell, but I think you all know that. I think I see faces that I recognize. You all remembered it's still light out when we're here. It's a little weird, isn't it? I remember when you get to the middle of the summer and it's really sunny when we start on Wednesday nights. Glad that you're here. Our Wednesday night Going Within service is just a time for you to come and pause midweek, to reconnect to Source, to just let go of the day, Monday, Tuesday, whatever happened, and be fully present right here and right now. Grateful that you're here. Thank you for joining us this evening. And to start us off, Trudy Sutke, our practitioner, is going to pray us in. Trudy?
Yeah, so find a nice settling place in your chair and just relax. That's all you need to do. And one more thing, if we could just take a nice breath in. And just arrive here. And take time to breathe in the energy in this room. And I simply recognize the beauty of this evening. Recognize that you have chosen to be here, right here and now. And I recognize fully that God is right here and now. And that God is so many things and so many ways of describing. It is simply to remind ourselves that it is one mind, one source, one being, and it is closer than hands and feet. I visualize myself immersed in this God-like energy, just feeling it throughout my body, and knowing that I am well supported and loved. So as the birds are still chirping outside and the sunlight is beginning to fade, I honor the idea that you have chosen to be here tonight to our Wednesday night service. And I simply open this service knowing that good things are going to happen. And there is a gift prepared for you, and all you need to do is relax and receive. We recognize this and are so grateful. I am thankful for the honor to pray with you. And so I just know this to be true. And I simply say, and so it is.
So it is.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and do the couple of announcements that we just have like, I almost want to be funny, and we have Charlie's Angels back here in the contemplation area, but honestly, there's 2 practitioner students along with Denise, who is a practitioner. You are getting fortified with love right now. These individuals are there to hold the light, and so this is what they are doing. We also have Barbara and Nancy, who are the other 2 practitioner students. So I don't know about you, but I feel very well supported tonight. And also, don't forget that we are each available for prayer after service, and particularly Denise and myself. Right out in the lobby is the prayer chapel. We'll be happy to sit with you, support you, and lift you up, and perform with you and embrace you in a spiritual mind prayer. Now, if you haven't already, please come forward and light your candle. And you might notice as you walk away from it that your individual light becomes part of this essential collective and shines brighter together.
I am open to my good right now. I am open to good. I am open to my good right now. I am open to good. I am open to good. I am open to my good right now. I am open to good. I am open to my good right now. I am open to good. I am open to good. I am open to my good right now. I am open to good. I am open to my good right now. I am open to good. I am open to good. I am open to my good right now. I am open to good. I am open to my good right now. I am open to good. I am open to good. I am open to good. Make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. Oh, divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console. To be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it's in giving that we receive, and it's in pardon that we are pardoned. It's in dying that we are born to eternal life. Oh, divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console. To be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it's in giving that we receive, and it's in pardon that we are pardoned. It's in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.
Oh, thank you, Claudia and Jim. It was a rich interpretation, wasn't it? Beautiful. So Reverend Debbie will bring us a powerful talk tonight entitled, Don't Bring Me Down. Don't do it. And I bring an intro with a Buddhist teaching. You know, the Buddhist teaching is often wonderful parables to create some meaning and extract meaning for our own life. So hopefully now, here is one such story. A teacher's apprentice always complained, nothing is right, everything is blah. And the teacher sent him to go fetch some salt. And then he asked him to put a handful of salt in some water and drink it. Then the apprentice spit it out and said, "Oh, this is bitter." And the master laughed, as masters often do. Then the master and the apprentice walked in silence to the lake, and the young man put his hand in the water and released the salt. The master then said, "Go ahead, taste this water." And the apprentice tasted it. And it splashed on his face, down his chin, it dribbled. And the master then asked, "Hey, now how does that taste?" And the apprentice said, "Fresh, delicious, and not salty at all." He then sat down with the apprentice, with him to talk. And the master was struck by how much this young student reminded him of himself. So he took his hands and he offered this advice. The pain of life is pure salt, nothing more, no less. Life is painful and it is pure salt. And the amount of pain in life remains the same. Exactly the same. But the bitterness we taste depends on the container we put it into. So when you are in pain, the only thing you can do is enlarge your sense of things. Enlarge your sense of things. Stop being the glass. Be the lake. And I thought about this, and many times in my own profession, people come into session, and in all earnestness, they ask me, "How do I get out of this depression? I feel so down, stuck, lost." My answer some of the time might be a surprise to you. Go and do something, I say, for someone else who probably cannot do something in return. Do this for someone you will remain anonymous for. Something of service, for instance, a note, some good food, a small monetary payment. And in doing this, you expand your field, you become the lake. And this is the fastest way out of getting stuck, feeling depressed or down. So there is, I know, a part of yourself that knows so powerfully that you are not broken. And let us use what we know about ourselves, that you are not broken, and transform others. Stop waiting for the world to change or for something miraculous to take place. Start being love. Now's the time. And we all have unique and powerful gifts to give to each other and to the world. Amen. And now I would like to introduce and welcome, of course, our favorite Reverend Debbie.
She says that to all the ministers. Thank you, Trudy. Thank you very much. Yes, tonight we're continuing on with our global vision. And the March theme is realizing the power of mind. And I cannot believe we're already into the third month of the year. We're ending up the first quarter of the year. So we're moving through this year-long program. And tonight we're focusing on the part that is coming up here. There we go. This is what was our March themes, and we talked about we believe that God is personal 2 weeks ago. And tonight we're going to take a look at we see a world in which humanity rediscovers the creative power of thought. So that's what we're going to talk about a little bit tonight. I want to start with a story about Edwene Gaines. I don't know if you all know Edwene Gaines or who she is. She's a Unity minister. She is well known now. She travels all around the world and teaches classes on prosperity and abundance and our New Thought principles. But she didn't start out being such an affluent, prosperous woman. She started out by being quite poor, actually, and was introduced to the principles of New Thought later on in her life, in her adulthood anyway. And she tells this story of her very first demonstration. And she talks about it with her spiritual teacher, the person that she was going to training with. They were talking to her about the idea of that God is good and God loves you, which she had a hard time grasping, and also the idea that she could have anything that she wanted, that the Spirit actually wanted to pour forth treasures into her life. And what she was instructed to do was to get very clear about what she wanted. And so that was really easy for her. She, in one 15-minute period, filled up a legal pad of all the things that she wanted. New shoes, new green shoes, it said. New green shoes, a car, a mate, a male mate, and on and on and on. And she added to that she would like to go to Mexico for a week. Now, she had never been to Mexico, but she thought that sounded like a good thing, and she was asking for everything that she wanted. She had always wanted to see the pyramids, and she had wanted to see the art, some of the artists in Mexico, and so she put that on her list. And she went back to her spiritual teacher, and she said, I feel like a big fake. You know, I put these on my list, but I'm broke. I have no money. And her teacher said, well, you need to act as if you're rich. You need to believe that you're rich. You need to vibrate as if you are rich. So you need to do something that makes you feel rich. So Edwin thought about this, and she decided that she would take a look at this at the grocery store, because that's a place where she felt like she was a penny pincher. She bought only the basics. She bought only what she needed. She never bought any what she calls the foo-foo foods, anything that was, extra or bubble bath or anything like that. So one day she was at the grocery store, and she decided she'd saunter over to the gourmet section. And she looked at the gourmet section, and she decided she was going to buy olives that were stuffed with almonds, because she was sure this is what rich people ate, that's what they would eat. So she bought that, and she brought it home. And she called her girlfriend, Lana, and she said, Lana, you know what? Break out that bottle of wine you brought and those new wine glasses, those crystal wine glasses. We're going to go sit by your pool, and we're going to drink that wine, and we're going to eat these olives, and we're going to pretend that we're in Mexico. Well, her girlfriend, Lana, thought she was a little cuckoo, but she finally agreed to do that with her. And so Edwina and her went and sat by the pool and drank the wine and ate the olives and said, isn't this beautiful being in Mexico? What would you like to do tomorrow? Should we go see the pyramids, or maybe we should go to the beach? And Lana laughed and said, well, we can do both. And then at night, maybe we'll go see the mariachis, And they created this whole fantasy world. And it was so much fun for Lana that Lana decided she wanted to go on this trip too. So they went down to the travel agent, and they booked the tickets for about 3 months from now, even though they had no money whatsoever and had no idea how they were going to go on this trip. And Edwin figured the worst thing that would happen is that she'd be embarrassed when the time came to pay for the tickets and she wasn't able to pay for them. Well, about 10 days later, Lana's mother called Lana and said that she was going to buy her ticket to Mexico for her. So Lana called Edwin all excited, and Edwin thought, man, I'm the one doing the affirmations here. I'm the one doing the work. How come she got her ticket paid for, right? And so she decided it was time to have a serious talk with God. All right, God, I've done my affirmations. I've made my list. I've done my intentions. I've done everything. Now it's up to you. This reminds me a little of the story that we talked about a couple weeks ago with the man in the cement, where he just kind of had it and decided to tell God, okay, I've done everything I can do. Now it's you, right? So Edwin did the same thing. And the travel agent called and said, it's time to pay for these tickets, or I'm going to need to release them. So Edwin got in her car, knowing she had no money, decided to drive down there and said, all right, God, it's time to pay for the tickets. On the way, she decided to stop at her mother's house. Now, she knew in her mind that maybe if she told her mom about the trip, that her mom would pay for the ticket like Lana's mom had paid for the ticket, right? So she kind of knew that going in, so she went in and was a sweet little daughter and behaved really well and told her mom about the trip and told her mom about Lana's mom paying for Lana's trip. And her mom said, well, that's great, but what are you going to do, Edwin? And, of course, she was discouraged. And was ready to leave. And her mother said, Edwin, would you go down and get the mail for me? Her mother had a very long driveway, so Edwin went down to get the mail for her mother. And what happened is she collected the mail, and she was flipping through the mail, and she saw there was a letter for her in there. Now, she had not lived at her mother's house for 15 years. She had not received mail at her mother's house for 15 years. She didn't recognize the return address, so she opened the letter and read it. And lo and behold, it was an old roommate of hers who had looked her up, her mother's address, to mail her this letter that said, I recently got married. When we had lived together, we furnished our apartment with what they called Salvation Army. And lo and behold, I sold all that furniture, and some of it was very valuable. I didn't feel right taking all the money myself, so here's your half for the furniture I sold. And wouldn't you know it, it was the exact amount that she needed to pay for the tickets, plus $100 spending money. You know, we just never know how God's going to show up. She goes on to tell a little cute part of the story where they got to Mexico and Lana was getting flowers. Everywhere they went, a man jumped on the bus and gave her a rose. The mariachi stopped and gave Lana a gardenia. One day they were at a restaurant and a dozen orchids were delivered to the table for Lana. And Dwayne said, "Hey, God, I'm needing to feel a little love here. What's going on? I'm feeling a little left out." Well, just a few minutes later, the waiter brought the hors d'oeuvres over, and what do you think they were? Olives stuffed with almonds. You know, we just never know. We just never know. But what we do know is that we have this creative power. We have this creative power that we can use. You know, we hear these sort of stories all the time. I hear them a lot. I don't know, you might hear them around the center when you're here on Sundays. You hear people talk about demonstrations. You hear Dr. Christian talk about demonstrations. We read our books and our classes or whatever, and there's all these demonstrations taking place, and people are having these amazing things happen, and things just pop up, and things just, you know, come from, it seems like from thin air in people's lives. You know, but why, in fact, if this principle is true, that we are not seeing this more often? Why isn't it not happening in all of our lives all the time? Well, according to Ernest, it is because of this. The self chooses. We have chosen nothing, and that is why we have nothing. When we wake up and begin to desire something, we shall find it is right there. This we do. Not only is there an activity of mind and spirit ready, but it is surging forward with tremendous power. The seed that grows in the crevice in the wall has power to burst the wall. So how are we demonstrating? How are we consciously using these laws of cause and effect? How are we consciously paying attention to our thoughts? Realizing that our thoughts are powerful. Our thoughts are creative, right? That is what we're talking about this month. We're talking about realizing the power of mind, spiritual mind treatment, science of mind. We are about the use of our mind, knowing that our mind and God's mind are the same mind, that we are those individual expressions of the one mind. So all that is in the mind of God is in us. You know, we're rediscovering the use of this power. We're not creating this power. The power has always been there. We are not the ones creating, but we are the ones that are aligning ourselves with the power that always there. For example, in times past, people did not know about North and South America. The Europeans did not. They did not know that it existed. So they could not benefit from the goods that were here. But they were here all along, and the people in North and South America benefited from them, but the Europeans didn't because they didn't even know it existed. The same with electricity. We did not invent electricity. Moses could have used electricity if he knew about it, right? We discovered it. Just like our great inventions, someone discovered it and we're able to use it. That doesn't mean that that inventor invented the principle or invented the law. The principle and the law was always there. We've just discovered it, and now we can use it. And thank goodness for those people that discover these amazing things that we're able to use, correct? Everything in our lives is a created activity of one form or another. Some people create good for themselves, others create bad, while most of us seem to create a little of both. This is Ernest Holmes again. But as we grow in knowledge and conviction, become more familiar with the way that the law works, we are more and more able to swing the creative activity of our thought to the favorable side. For centuries, the comprehension and utilization of electricity were beyond man's power. But when he finally reached the point of being able to direct his action to a certain degree, he discovered that it could heat and light his home. as well as electrocute him. The same with water. It's a resource that is beneficial and good. It has many good uses, but we can also drown in it. And the two sides of the same coin. How are we using it? How are we using the principle? How are we using that which is coming into our mind? We use the creative power of the universal mind every time we use our mind. That's in the Science of Mind text. So are we paying attention to our thoughts? That's really what it boils down to. Are we mindful of what we allow ourselves to entertain? Like the Buddhist student that Trudy was talking about. Are we seeing life as bitter? Are we seeing it as beautiful? Are we the lake or are we the glass? What are we doing? We are totally at choice all the time. Nothing is happening to us. Everything is happening for us. Are we embracing it? Are we consciously aware of the people that we're surrounding ourselves with the television programs that we're watching, with the books that we're reading, with the places that we're hanging out? Who are we sharing this good stuff with? Are we with like-minded people that understand when we tell them what it is that we're doing? Are we with people that tell us we're cuckoo? And what you're brainwashed? What do you believe in that for? I suggest getting away from those people. Don't hang out with those people. And at the very least, don't share your stuff with them. Keep it close to your heart. Keep it for people that can support you. Keep it for your cheerleaders, for those that love you and are rallying with you to create this life of your dreams. Because we can all do it. We can all create the life that we want. What is showing up in our world, and this is one I do not like, never did, but it's the truth. What is showing up in my life as a result of what I'm thinking? So I don't have anybody to blame for the stuff that's coming down the pike. And that's not to be critical of yourself or be hard on yourself or judge yourself. It's just to observe. Say, isn't that interesting that this person or a person like this keeps showing up in my life, like the same person in different face, over and over. What is that about? Why am I attracting that? What thought am I holding? What thought am I thinking that is creating this in my world? What belief system am I still operating from that is creating this? Am I still believing in lack? Am I still believing in limitation? Or have I stepped into the absolute belief that I am meant to be abundant? That it is the Father's good pleasure to give me the kingdom. And that is true. How big is my bucket? Am I ready to receive? Am I open to receive? This is another great quote from the Science of Mind, I thought. Trained thought is far more powerful than untrained. And the one who gives conscious power to their thought should be more careful what they think than the one who does not. These are powerful things. The story of Edwin Gaines, that happens all the time. If we pay attention, if we listen, we know as ministers and practitioners when we sit with our clients that these things are happening for them. Healings take place. We are both called to and responsible for creating our life. We are responsible for the lives that we create. Ernest says, it is, however, an outstanding truth that every privilege brings its corresponding responsibility. The right and power to make your own decisions, bad or good, put you in a very vital position. You now realize you are no longer automaton, moved about by the caprice of circumstances, solely guided by instincts, or subject to some will superimposed upon you. You are free to choose, but you have to take the consequences of that choosing. There's no way to avoid it. It is a principle. It is a law, the law of cause and effect. It happens.
whether we're paying attention to it or not. You know, our thoughts are creative, whether we're paying attention to them or not. You know, I want to tell you a little bit about my own experience. I had a real issue, if you will, with prosperity. I was raised in an Italian Catholic family. My father was a grocery store manager. We had 5 children at that time. My father had 5 children and my mother. And we all went to parochial school. How my parents afforded to send us to parochial school, I do not know. But at home, we didn't have a lot. We didn't have a lot of extra. And my father would often say, people like us don't do fill in the blank. Those other people do that. Now, as a little child, I didn't really know any different, right? I believed him. He was my dad. People like us don't do that. You know, we're meant to just suffer by, and then we get the reward to die and go to heaven, but this life sort of just sucks, you know, and that's sort of the way it is. And you just had to accept that, right? So as I got older, I started to question some of these things, and I started to explore on my own some other belief systems. You know, and I married a man who was very successful, and we had a very abundant, wonderful life. And in the beginning of our marriage, we two both had come from sort of the same kind of background, although he was much more entrepreneurial than I was, and he believed at a much higher level than I did. But I started to learn, and I started to study. And then when we decided to have children, I stopped working. And I never had like a real 9-to-5, 6-figure job or anything like that, but I'd worked and made my own money. Well, it was really interesting because when I stopped working, that pendulum swung. And I don't know if it was conscious or not. I don't think it was. We just really fell into the very traditional marriage. I was a stay-at-home mom for 20 years, absolutely blessed that I was able to do that and raise my children. But we really went through some struggles about money. All of a sudden, it became his money, and he was in charge of the money. And I didn't have any money, you know, and so we had to really figure out how to do that. And what really came to me really clearly was I had an opportunity to go do a Native American ritual, to be part of a Native American ritual I really loved the Native American philosophy. It was very important to me. I had a relative who worked closely with the Native Americans, and this was something that a few white people were allowed to enter this sacred place and do this. But I needed $500. Which doesn't seem like a lot now, but to me that was a lot back then. And my then husband said no. And that was kind of the turnaround for me. Like, ouch, this does not feel good. And at that time, I was learning the science of my principles, and I was learning that God is my source. Because it looked to me like my husband was my source, right? That's what it seemed like. And I would walk, literally, stomping my little feet as I walked around the block doing my exercise. God is my source. God is my source. God is my source. My God is more powerful than my husband. I mean, I really had to say things like that to myself until I could change my thinking, to believe it, to believe that I absolutely was a child of God, that I was absolutely, my divine birthright, my divine inheritance was to live an abundant life, was to live a full life. And believe me, after many therapy sessions and talking and working, and both of us working out our stuff, we came to an understanding of how we were able to live together, and the money became our money, and we had a very, very affluent, wonderful life. We were able to do all sorts of things and travel all over. We have 2 beautiful children today. We're no longer married, but we're still friends. And we learned a lot together. So it's this kind of work that I'm talking about, to uncover, discover, and discard those old belief systems. Any limitation that we think that we have. Because the truth is, we are limited by nothing but what? Belief, by our thoughts. We are free. We are free to choose. We are free to create. We are free to create the life of our dreams. You know, I ask you to take a look at your life. Where is it that you might be holding back? Where is it that you might be able to take one little step into creating that life of your dreams? To move forward. It could be a very small thing. To no longer be Facebook friends with somebody who's super negative. You know, you can just block posts from them. They don't even know that you unfriended them. You know, to pay attention. Who are you letting in your inner circle? What are you letting in your inner thoughts? Spend some time with that. Be mindful this week of what your thoughts are and who you're sharing them with. God bless you. It's good to be here with you tonight. As our musicians come on up, let's do our affirmation together. God's mind and my mind are the same mind. How about one more time? God's mind and my mind are the same mind. Amen.
All right.
Claudia.
That is good, this song. Because you never know where life is gonna take you, and you can't change where you've been. And today, I got the opportunity to choose. Here I am now looking at a new day. I got so much to say. Gotta get this off of my chest. I gotta let it go today. I was always too concerned about what everybody would think. But I can't live for everybody. I gotta live my life for me. Yeah. I have hit a fork in the road of my life. Ain't nothing gonna happen unless I decide, and I choose to be the best that I can be. I choose to be authentic in everything I do. My past don't dictate who I am. I choose. I've seen so many painful things I thought that I would never make it through. Filled up with shame from the top of my head to the soles of my shoes. I've put myself through so many chaotic circumstances. By the grace of God, I've been given so many second chances. Well, today I decided to let that all go. I'm dropping these bags, I'm making room for my joy, and I choose to be the best that I can be. I choose to be authentic in everything I do. My past don't dictate who I am. I choose. Because you never know where life is gonna take you, and you can't change where you've been. But today, I got the opportunity to choose. Release the guilt about why things have been the way they've been, cause life is gonna do what it do. And every day, I got the opportunity to choose. From this day forward, I'm gonna be exactly who I am. I don't need to change the way that I live just to get a man. Even had a talk with my mama, I told her today I'm grown. From this day forward, every decision I make will be my own, and I choose to be the best that I can be. I choose to be authentic in everything I do. My past don't dictate who I am. I choose, and I choose to be the best that I can be. I choose to be courageous in everything I do. My past don't dictate who I am. I choose.
Yes. Thank you. Very good song choice. I like when that happens. The musicians, pick their songs independently. Our practitioners pick their readings independently, and it's always so interesting to see how they just sync up perfectly. I like that. It's the time of our service for our offering. It's the time that we get to practice that law of reciprocity, another one of those principles that just is. As we give, we receive, and that's just the way that it works. You know, we can't outgive Spirit, as Christian says, but it certainly helps to oil the well, you know. Any little bit that you have to offer is greatly appreciated. Anything that you give supports the work that we do here at Seaside. It supports the Wednesday night services. I'm going to ask our ushers to come forward. Karen and Dennis, thank you for being here. Knowing that, we are so very grateful that you're here and that we're so happy to be able to have this Wednesday night going within service for you. Join us in our prosperity prayer. As I give thanks for the good now flowing into my life, I gladly share that good with others. The more I give, the more I receive. I experience a deeper consciousness of peace and security, for I know that I am in the embrace of a warm, loving presence, forever seeking an outlet through me. My cup runneth over. I exist in limitless possibilities. Thank you. It's a time for a few announcements before we have our prayer and our closing. I want to thank everybody who makes Wednesday night possible. We couldn't do it without all of you. Thank you so much, Jim. Thank you, Claudia, for being with us. Marvelous. Thank you. Thank you. So blessed that you're here. Thank you to our sound guys. We have Ed and Steve. And thank you, Gregory, for doing our podcast. Thank you to everybody who watches live and on our podcast from home. Our practitioners, we have a lovely, beautiful gang here. We have Denise, who is our practitioner, and Trudy. And then we have practitioner interns, Barbara Banks and Nancy Mills. And they'll be stepping into full practitioner in June at their graduation. So they're winding up their training. So very blessed that you're here. Terry, thank you for opening the bookstore and being here for us. I don't have many announcements for you tonight. We have spring catalog coming out this Sunday for education. So education classes signups will be starting next week and the week after Easter. We are here for 3 services on Easter. Remember, we have sunrise in the garden, and then we have the 9 and the 11. We have Easter egg hunt after both services for the kids, and our choir is here, and it's a fun time to be here on Easter. This Sunday is New Members Sunday, and those that are joining will be here, and we'll welcome them on stage and take everybody out for lunch afterwards that becomes a new member. So I think that's it. I can't think of any other announcements that we have going on right now at Seaside. So I'd like to pray. I'd like to pray now. If you have anybody in your lives, anybody in your world that you're wanting to pray for, please just bring them to mind now and know that they're included in this prayer. As we turn within, knowing that there is only one power and one presence, and it is God, good, love, divine order, universal peace, creative intelligence, whatever name that I call it, there is only one source. And I know that I am one with this source, and I know that each one here is one with all that is. I know that there is only one mind, the mind of God, and it is the mind of each one of us now. That we are united as one planet, one people. And I know and I claim for each one now that there's a perfect unfoldment taking place. For each and every individual that's put a prayer in the prayer request chest, for each and every loved one that's raised here in consciousness right now, I know that there's a healing that's taking place, that the divine essence is moving in, through, and as them in this very moment. Anything that appears unlike God just dissolves back into the nothingness from which it came, knowing it has no power here, that the only power is the divine. Strong, full, complete. And I know and I claim for each one an abundant life, a full life, a blessed life, that each one inherits its divine inheritance. I am so grateful to know this truth. I am so grateful to speak these words. I'm so grateful to know the principles and the laws and knowing that they're acting and reacting in my life and each life every day. It's with that sense of absolute gratitude with the rightness of the planet that I just simply release these words into the divine nature of the law, knowing it is done. And so it is. Join me for our closing song.
Love is my decision. It's up to me to give of my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. And once I decide to change my mind, love will show me how. Love is my decision. My decision right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to dance down that road. Love is my decision. No one else can lighten my load. And once I decide to change my mind, love will show me how. Love is my decision. My decision right here and now. My decision right here and now.
God bless you. Have a beautiful week. Join us for tea and cookies in the family room.
Thank you. And you made me look good, which is good.